how we know it. Normally, when you home educate, at least one parent doesn't work, so they can manage the teaching. You can go out and about. You have access to a lot of activities outside of the house, and we don't have that right now. As you know, we are all stuck in at home. This presentation would look a lot different if we weren't under lockdown. So I'm really aiming what I'm saying today at the families who are trying to cobble everything together. You don't have your usual childcare, your nannies, your babysitters, your grandparents helping out. You don't have anyone helping you clean your home. You don't have school. You know, you're trying to do your own work and help your children, keep them educated, but also happy and engaged. So this is who I'm aiming this presentation at, for families like me, actually. Take what you want from this presentation. I have a lot of advice and tips. Use the ones that resonate with you, and please don't feel any pressure to go above and beyond. I do not want to overwhelm anyone or make anyone feel more stressed than you may already be right now. There will be a lot of screen. And I'm grateful for that, actually. It's amazing to live in this modern era. We need it for working, we need it for communicating. There are lots of amazing activities your children will be able to do online, and also the blessing of leaving them in front of the TV or video games. So please embrace the screen. Get dressed every day. It's really important. It sets you up for your best work. Whenever I teach a homeschool child or teach in a school, the first thing I do every day is go over the date. It's really important to know the day, the date, and the year, especially right now when every day feels the same and we kind of don't know if we're coming or going. There are lots and lots of fabulous activities you can do with a calendar. It's called Everyday Math, and you can do a lot of great learning if you choose to. So you can talk about the number of days in each month, the order of the days in the month, talk about the weather, the temperature, get a wall thermometer for your garden, and track and monitor and graph and chart. There's so much data analysis you can do with your children surrounding the calendar and the weather and the temperatures. But of course, only if you can or you have the inclination to do so. Children are often very responsible and good citizens when they are at school. Everyone has their jobs, and I'd like to harness that for home, where children can often be slightly less responsible. So you might not need a pencil monitor when you're at home, but you will need other monitors. The dishwasher monitor, the bathroom light switcher offer monitor. So harness that power of school and explain to your children, yes, I know we are not in school, but this is now our new normal. And just like you have jobs at school in your classroom, you are going to have jobs at home. You can make a job chart if you want, if you have the time, if you think it will help, and you can rotate your children through the different roles. But I think that assigning positions, switching them every week, that's all you need to do. That will help you as a parent at home, but it will also maintain that citizenship that your children have been getting from school. I'm sure this is something you're all familiar with. Your kids have 1,000 toys and none of them are good enough, and no one wants to play with any of them. And you can stand there making suggestions till the cows come home and everything is no, 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 no. But again, harness the power of school. When your children come into the classroom in the morning and they see there's something to do, they go and do it. So the same thing, clear an area, clear out your playroom, clear out your kitchen table. When they wake up in the morning, have something set up for them. Do it the night before you go to bed. Leave out the Lego, leave out the magnet tiles, leave out the Monopoly. If it's there, they will come and play with it. Just like in school, again, your children will all have space where they keep their work. They'll have their tray, they'll have their desk. So we need to make that at home. That's to be more organized, to make our lives easier and to make it easier for them to find what they need. Certainly easier for me when I have everything in one space for each child. I can find what I need to tell them to do each day. Keep the pencils all together, pencil pot, a pencil, glue, scissors, ruler, whatever it is they're going to need for their work. So it's really important to have this clear, tidy, dedicated, organized workspace, but they don't need to sit there to work. Children can work wherever they are comfortable in my opinion. It's actually really good for kids to lie down on their stomachs working. It strengthens their shoulder girdles, which will in turn help with fine motor skills like writing. Children like working on whiteboards. So if you're finding someone is reluctant to do the work in an exercise book or on the piece of paper, have them work it out on the whiteboard. If you need to, you can always take a picture of it, photocopy it, and stick it in an exercise book later. So the schedule. This is quite a hot topic. Again, do what works for you. I have highly scheduled one of my children who needs that, and my other ones, they have a lot more flexibility in their day. What I do suggest, though, is the bare minimum that you do is schedule your work time, either the time that they're working independently or the time that you're working with them. So know when that is in your day, and it can be any time that suits you. The first week that we were in lockdown, my husband and I were working with our children between 7 and 8 in the morning because they were all up, and that didn't interfere with our working day, and that was great. We got a solid hour done before breakfast. Then the clocks changed, and that's not happening anymore. But to find the time that you can work with them or leave them work to do on their own and schedule it. Speaking of timing, it doesn't need to be very long. You do not need to be giving your children 3 or 4 hours of work a day between 1 and 2. I mean, depending on their age, of course, but for primary school children, between 1 and 2 is absolutely fine. So take that chunk of time and organize it and make a little list. You don't have to have a fancy, colorful schedule, a piece of paper, a Post-it note with tick boxes. So you will say math, pages 5 to 6, and they can tick it off. Spelling sentences, tick it off. My top tip here is choose the work that they find the hardest or that you find the hardest and have them do that first. First we do this and then we do that. It's a lot more motivating. They know that they're going to have something more enjoyable or fun after the tricky work. So get the harder, less fun work out of the way first. With your schedule, depending how long your chunk of learning is, include some movement breaks, maybe after every 30 to 40 minutes. I don't mean like a full outside break time. I literally mean stand up, 15 star jumps, sit back down again, and get back to work. Stand up, go do 3 handstands against the wall. Whatever it is, just a little something, because with some children, if you make the break too long, the transition back to work is challenging. And if you've only got a limited time to sit down with them and get work done, then you don't want to have to spend that time goading them back. So a quick break just to refresh, but not so long that they won't be able to return to the task at hand. This is the challenge, getting our own work done. So what I do is when I'm working, I have this schedule for my children and I leave them work they can do on their own, but not for the entire day. That's not going to work. So some of the times they have a list of tasks they have to get through. Other times they can play with their toys, they can go in the garden, they can watch TV, they can play video games. Do what you need to do. Just, I say, think carefully about your own work schedule. So if you have a very important call, that might not be the best time to give them independent work. Maybe that's a good time that they watch TV. Or with work, sometimes it's really helpful to give them work that's a little bit easier for them. Then they're not going to come to you with questions, and it's revision. There's nothing wrong with revising something you're familiar with. It will just continue to strengthen the knowledge. One really useful idea is to have grandparents help out. So a grandparent or a nanny or even a tutor can do a lot of support over Zoom or Skype. And that is one way that you can get on with what you need to do because your child will be occupied. Social interaction is really important, and this is something that homeschoolers make an effort with in the real world. They make a lot of effort to go out and do things with other homeschoolers. We can't do that right now. So Zoom, FaceTime, Skype, they're all amazing, but they can be overwhelming, especially for younger children. So we need to manage it carefully. And this is something as parents we do need to think about, because although we're all missing our interaction, we're getting it. We are communicating with people at work, we're WhatsApping our friends, we're talking on the phone, we're seeing what's going on through Facebook. Our children aren't. So we really need to schedule the time for them to see their friends. And what we can do is set up activities. So set up Zoom for a couple of kids and give them all the same activities. So my child could be playing with Play-Doh, your child could be playing with Play-Doh, and they're just doing their own thing. And then they're going to say, oh, look what I made. Or we can give them a task. Can you guys all make pizza from Play-Doh? And then they'll do it and they'll talk, and it's much more natural and organic. And it's not as forced, because it can be very overwhelming for children to sit down at the computer. They're not used to it, to talk to each other. There's a lot you can do shared over a screen. You can play online games, you can play I Spy, you can play actual board games if both people have the game. For older or more responsible children, they can actually work together with a friend over the computer. The same way that when we were younger, we would call our friends and have a chat and do our homework together over the phone. This is the next generation of that. And it's better because they can see. You can screen share the work. You can ask them to watch. You can say, why don't you guys watch Horrible Histories together? And then here's a writing assignment that you're both going to have to do, and you can work through it together. Your school should all be providing you with the content, but it might be overwhelming or confusing, or you might not think it's enough. So supplement as you see fit. You can get workbooks, educational games, lots of online programs. I'm a big fan of reading eggs and math seeds. My children are really enjoying it. It's a little bit addictive. It's fine because it means I know that they're actively engaged while I'm doing what I need to do, and they're learning from it. I really like CGP workbooks. I've always liked them, but now I like them even more because they have online versions which you can bring up on the screen and screen share. So if someone is working with your child, they can see what your child has in the book, and they can mark up the screen or show them how to spell something. So it's clever. BBC Bite Size is putting something up now, like a whole curriculum which you can access to support what school has sent you. And daily reading is really important, not just to develop reading skills, but reading strengthens critical thinking, lateral thinking, social skills. It enhances spelling, grammar, problem solving. So it's really helpful. It's really useful for your children to read as much as they can. So if your child is a bookworm, then this is great. Go with that. Let them read as much as they want. For younger children who can't read or more reluctant readers, it's fine. They can sit and flip through the book. They don't need to read the words. You can get a lot out of looking at pictures. Now, oftentimes children are taught differently than to how we were taught as kids, or we've simply forgotten because you don't need to use a lot of these skills anymore. So if you get stuck and you're not sure how to help them with something, just Google it, YouTube it. Everything is available online. This is a link. I just typed into YouTube, long division chunking method, which is something people often find confusing. And so much came up. And the first one is this 5-minute video of the teacher teaching it. So you could watch that, or you could give it to your child to watch, but there's so much out there. So just make use of the fabulous resources we have. There are so many interactive games. If there's a skill you want your child to go over, just type into Google that skill plus interactive game, and you'll have some great options. It's also a good time to learn a skill that they can do independently on the computer, like typing. There's a typing club, BBC Dance Mat are free, online chess. There are so many free online tutorial programs that your children can work through independently without you needing to sit there with them. And puzzles and games, these are amazing. Let's not underestimate them, because not only is it about taking turns and sharing and developing social skills, but some of these games support academics. So like Rubik's Race, Dobble, and Rush Hour work on visual perceptive skills, which is really important to becoming good readers and writers. Twister will work on your gross motor skills, which has a knock-on effect with fine motor skills. And of course, any game that's mathematically based will support math. So put out those puzzles and games, leave them out for your children to play, or when you have time in the evenings and the weekends, play more family games, because it's fun. It's fun, it's bonding, it's not the screen, and there are a lot of benefits. So I hope that you have found this presentation interesting and helpful, and that there are a few nuggets in here that you will be able to take home, or you are at home, that you'll be able to use and will benefit you and your family. I wish everybody all the best, and thank you for listening.